My penis was oscillating between extremely sensitive and borderline traumatized.
This one's wife, has she infected Archie? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I have commented upon this one's wife appearance as a UPS employee as she delivers the hilarious anecdote about Archie wanting a Leica camera and how it's likely to be a revision of history. But in the interests of balance, let us make the assumption that for once she's telling the truth, because narcissists can tell the truth as you perceive it to be, the majority perspective. I've explained in my brilliant video, the truth, the half-truth, and nowhere near the truth, the way in which narcissists utilize information which you understand to be the truth, that the way that we utilize information which is a half-truth, and also the way that we utilize information which is nowhere near the truth, i.e. a lie. Those three strands are utilized by narcissists in the pursuit of the prime aims. And we have seen repeatedly how this one's wife operates in a distortion field of an alternative reality, resulting in her twisting the truth and often being a complete stranger to it. But there will be instances where she uses the truth. But it's not because she's being a good person, it's simply the case that the truth serves her purposes vis-a-vis the prime aims. So let us assume that the anecdote that she relayed about Archie is actually true, and that a 4-year-old, I beg your pardon, a 4.5-year-old child is already conversant with the brands of particular equipment, and also states a desire that he wants one, because the camera he's been provided with is viewed as inferior, that he wants the superior Leica version. That also, this is a child that apparently came out with dinosaur as a first word and asked for a waffle maker. What might this tell us? Quite possibly, these are indicators, and one can say no more than that at this juncture, that they are indicators that this one's wife has infected Archie. Infected him with what, I hear you ask? Her narcissism. I don't just mean in terms of the fact that he is subjected to being treated like an object, that there will be periods where he suffers a corrective devaluation as a consequence of the necessity of asserting control over him in a malign manner. I don't mean in the sense that she's emotionally distant from him, but rather that he is infected with what she is. As you may know from my video, What Makes a Narcissist, 2 things are required to create a narcissist. There must be a genetic predisposition, so this is passed on, usually from one or more parents. We know that this one's wife is a narcissist. The evidence completely supports that that is the case. And therefore, on the basis that Archie is her offspring, then he will have received that genetic predisposition. The second aspect is that there needs to be a lack of control environment. Narcissists invariably create that because their behavior in the domestic setting is one where a child might be beaten, might be sexually abused, might be emotionally harmed, finds themselves neglected. It might be the case that they find themselves subjected to having a parent that's emotionally distant, or a parent, for instance, that tells them they're amazing and wonderful, and therefore they grow up in a gilded environment. Now, there's no information to suggest that Archie is suffering any kind of physical or sexual abuse within his household, but given the fact that she's a mid-range narcissist, he may well find himself triangulated with his sister, find himself left to his own devices, and that she's critical of the things that he does or expects too much of him. grade B syndrome. Thus, this would create a lack of control environment. It might be that he's shielded from this lack of control environment by Harry, or more likely, the nannies that are there to deal with him on a regular basis. But the fact that his mother is a narcissist, and that he's in an environment where she is, at least some of the time, creates the possibility that the young boy is already treading the path towards narcissism. We cannot say with any certainty whatsoever that a 4.5-year-old boy is a narcissist. You can't. You have to wait until he's an adult to make that determination. However, there are indicators which might suggest, and it's only right to point out it's only a suggestion, that he's heading on that path. And one of them, in terms of those indicators, is the fact that he's making demands at a young age for branded items. This is not something ordinarily that a young child would want. They would basically talk about wanting a train, or wanting a football, or wanting a bicycle. They wouldn't necessarily be expressing a view in relation to brands, and, in particular, relatively obscure. A camera isn't a toy. It's a piece of machinery that's utilised for taking pictures. And therefore, whilst there are toy cameras that are created by the likes of, say, Fisher-Price, it per se isn't a toy. So to provide someone with a Nikon or a Canon camera, you wouldn't say, oh, give that to a child as a toy. It's not suitable. And therefore, for him to be wanting that item, and for specifying a particular brand as well, suggests a certain sense of entitlement. A fact that he may well have been exposed to behaviour where brands are spoken about with admiration, which of course we know that this one's wife, as somebody who regularly buys clothing that is designer brands that doesn't fit her properly, it's likely that she may well be brand obsessed, and he's being exposed to that behaviour. To my mind, if the anecdote is true, and that is a big if, such behaviour on the part of Archie isn't that of a regular 4.5-year-old. I'm sure this one's wife would be delighted to hear me say that, thinking that that means that he's special. But I'm using it in the context of it being a narcissistic indicator. By having such a knowledge about such an item, and a branded item, shows an exposure to certain values which would not universally be accepted as good ones, and that it would show a sense of entitlement to make a demand. Furthermore, reacting in the way of saying the camera you've given me isn't like the one that he's using also shows a somewhat ungrateful response, which of course is often found by somebody with narcissistic tendencies. I make it clear that at this early juncture, one cannot say with any certainty whatsoever that Archie is a narcissist. You just can't do that. You have to wait until he's an adult to make that determination. But for the purpose of educating you about how children can be affected by the behaviour of a narcissist parent, it provides us with a useful example to pick up on the fact that this behaviour, if true, is certainly something that would be seen by the child of a narcissist. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.